I am Airman First Class Maylon Smart, and here for the next segment of our Fireside Fridays Fireside Chat series is Master Sergeant MSgt Grimes, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her career as a bandsman and exactly what being an Air Force bandsman has meant to her. So let me start by saying hello. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
I am lovely. I'm so happy to be here speaking with you. We tried to do this for a while, so I'm glad we can make it happen.
Finally.
Yes, I'm so excited. So tell us a little bit about yourself, like your roots, hometown, where are you from, and how did you get into the Air Force?
Well, I'm originally from Altus, Oklahoma. Grew up there, moved to Lawton, Oklahoma, which is about an hour away. Was in school. My mom married an Army sergeant. So we moved from Oklahoma to Georgia. And so Georgia is where I call home because that's where I spent most of my life. So we moved to Columbus, Georgia. He got stationed at Fort Benning. And like I said, he was Army. And so I had no intention of coming into the military. That wasn't even, on my radar. I was singing, in a singing group. So that's what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
So then I was like, well, I like to travel. I want to go to school. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll join the Army. And he was like, no, you won't. Nuh-uh. So I did look into the Air Force. And I went to a recruiter and came in supply. I was a supply person. Yeah, so that was my first introduction to the Air Force. And
wow. Okay.
Originally, yeah. So I had a supply under my belt. So I was in supply for about 5-6 years, and they were actually considering making supply civilian. Mm-hmm. So I had gotten out, did some stuff here and there, and was active reserve. I did Tops and Blue 2 times.
Oh, wow. Okay.
2 years, yeah. So, but then when I finished my second tour, I got completely out of the military, and I was in Atlanta, doing stuff up there, promotional modeling and everything. And so about a few months after I got out, one of the members that I toured with in Tops and Blue was in the band at Wright-Patterson.
Okay.
And so he called me up. He was like, what are you doing? What's going on in your life? And I told him, I was like, I'm out, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, well, we're looking for a female vocalist for the band. And I was like, okay, I don't know I had no clue about the Air Force bands. I was like, okay, well, I'm not in, I'm a civilian. So he was like, well, I told my commander about you and he wants to do an audition with you. And like I said, I was in Atlanta at that time, and they were coming down to Maxwell, which is in Alabama, to do a performance or something. I can't remember exactly what they were coming down for. And so the commander at that time was Colonel Alan Sirix.
Okay.
So I met them at Maxwell, in Alabama, and I sang a few songs, and he sat me down and he was like, I really think you will add something different to the band. He was like, if you want the job, it's yours. So pretty much he hired me right there on the spot. And I was like, okay. Okay. So by the time I was driving back to Atlanta, they were starting the paperwork to bring me back into the Air Force. So of course, Wright-Pat was my first duty station, and he was my first band's commander. So.
Oh, wow. That is
yeah.
So cool. So how many years have you been active now? And I'm not mistaken, you have a retirement coming up soon.
A whole lot of years. When I got out for those 2 years that I was, out, they didn't consider that as time spent. So I'm technically at 25, but on paper it's 23. So okay. I am eligible to retire in September of this year. So
congratulations.
Yeah, I was like, hey. Who knows what's gonna happen though with everything going on. I'm like,
right.
maybe I should just wait a little bit, So yeah, but I am eligible, and I got my little rip from Texas. So yeah, it's exciting, and it's 50-50. It's like half of me is like, okay, I can still, stay in, I'm still healthy, I can still, run with the youngins, but then another part of me is like, okay, you've been doing this the majority of your life, let's do something else. So
it's a blessing in these times that as a bandsman you have those options, where a lot of musicians in the civilian world are not able to work during these times. And that's just a blessing to me. I always am thankful for that opportunity in times like these. So
yes, of course.
You have that choice.
Yeah.
So what ensembles were you in during your time in, or have you been, you're still in?
They're at Right Pat, or just period?
Period. And what was some of your favorite?
Well, the majority of the groups I was in, rock band. They're at Right Pat. I was in Systems Go, which is a right rock band, and also the jazz band. And I saw the interview you did with the Costs.
Yes.
Or not you, but your counterpart. And I was like, Jennifer was my troopie.
It was funny because I just got in a little over 2 years ago. Master Sergeant Cost, he was my band TI.
Yes.
So that's just so cool to be able to see that and connect those generations like that. That was awesome.
Yes. It's so funny to see them because, they had just started their relationship at Right Pat. Mm-hmm. And I was there too, and I'm like, to see them now, I'm like, yay! So yeah, but let's see. So Systems Go, the rock band, and then the jazz band there at Right Pat, and then the other rock bands at my other duty stations too. So
okay. So yeah. As a vocalist, I mean, I know we have to learn how to maneuver around all genres of music, but what would you say is your favorite? Like, what if you say I am a blank singer? What would you say?
It's kind of weird because I do like R&B, but I haven't really sang a lot of R&B in the band. Most of it is like pop and rock and some R&B. Yep. So it's a diverse genre, but yeah, of course, R&B is my baby. Yeah.
Yes, and a lot of that kind of goes into because it's service before self. We play for the community first and foremost, and it's about knowing your audience, and a lot, especially the veterans and things like that. Some of that classic rock and stuff like that. Right. It touches them in a way. It's something they can relate to. But I often do. What advice would you give to people who get in the band and they realize, I'm not playing the music that I want to play? How do you come to peace with it, or love the music for what it is?
Right. So there was a time where like I would have nothing in the repertoire but like rock. And I'm like, why am I singing all this rock stuff? But I had, like you said, you have to play to your audience, and depending on your group, you can put some of yourself in the music. You just have to be flexible and be versatile. Yeah.
So talk to me about some of your experiences on the road. A lot of times, and you're playing to those audiences and you're singing rock and stuff that, being a Black woman, they don't necessarily expect to come out of your mouth, and some of the reactions that you may get. Can I talk about that?
And you hit it. It's like, they're like, wait a minute, they see me, but then they hear me. They're like, no, they can't put it together. And, I had to, I came in, I was still young, and I'm just like, okay, what is the big deal? Like, I'm singing a song, but then I'm like, okay, people see me and they just automatically assume, like I said, R&B. I only sing R&B. So I think it was at Right Pat, we were doing, of course, Don't Stop Believing.
Of course.
And that's just the staple song that
really
everyone
love that song though.
And so this lady comes up and she's like, you sound just like the lead singer. And I was like, wait a minute, is that a compliment? Or are you telling me I sound like a man? Which one is it? So I would get that every time, we did the song, whether it was at Right Pat or any of the other, bands I was at.
Mm-hmm.
I would always sing that song. And so I would always get the same compliment. And I'm just like, okay, like I'll take it, I'll take it. Yes. but yeah, that is something that I had to deal with a lot. People just assume that because I'm African American that I only sing R&B, but I've had to sing, all the genres. I think every genre except for like opera. And I think that's the only
concert band. If you were in a concert band, you probably sing more classical rap. But you said you did jazz band and rock band. Yeah.
Yeah. Country, we did country music, pop, rock, blues, jazz. Yeah, I think the only genre is opera. And I'm like, I'll leave that to the soprano. I'm like, no, I'm good. I know my lane. I'm staying in my lane. Give me some low stuff.
So what would you say was your most memorable performance, like in your whole career, a time that just sticks out to you?
Well, there's a few, but I'll tell you the one from Right Pat, just because that one was one of my first ones in the military, and we were doing a performance. I can't remember if it was like Hearts Heroes, and one of the performances at the museum, because we were there a lot,
right? And
so we were doing some song, and I was singing, lead. It was just I was singing lead. And I think we had two other vocalists. I think they were, kind of in the back doing the background. And so I'm singing, and this guy comes up. He was an older gentleman, a veteran. He comes up, and I'm singing, and he's, we're on a stage, so we're up, and then he's down on the floor. And he motions to me to come down, bend down. And I'm still singing, and he gives me something, in my hand, and he closes it. He closes my fist. So I was like, okay.
Wow.
And then, so I'm still singing. And so I finished the song. My hand is still tight. I finished the song. I go backstage, and I open it. I open my hand, and it's a set of wings. And so he was an Air Force pilot. I can't remember what airplane he, was a pilot of, but for him to take it off of his chest and to give it to me, I was just like, oh my gosh, like I was like bawling. I was like, okay, get it together, because you got to finish the show. But that was just a moment where I was just like, okay, you thought that much of me, and what I sound like, and the show that I'm giving you, to give me something so dearly that belongs to you. So that was a moment for me.
Yes, that's a good place to kind of segue into what the Air Force Bands branch means, or military bands as a whole mean to the community. What do you see the purpose of them? Because often I find we have to defend our career. What we have so many important jobs that are being done. What makes your job important? Kind of tell us about that.
Well, it's history, and it's patriotic. And I can say one thing, when my last duty assignment was in Belgium, and it was at the Shape Band, which is a joint band. Well, now it's Air Force and Army, but now they do have some internationals in that band. And so just going to different grave sites, the history over there, they want live music played for their, for the veterans that have deceased, or in the world, in, World War I, World War II. It's like that feeling of a trumpet player playing taps. Other than someone.
That's the second time we've heard that. Yes.
Pushing play on a tape recorder or CD play. They don't want that. It's patriotism. It's I don't know. It's dedication, and just on that first note, it's like, So live music and what we do, we are able to go into places that some people can't, most people can't,
Yes.
So music is just universal in a sense that everyone can move to it. Everyone can be moved by it.
Yes.
So yeah, I think our job is so important in that aspect. Like language barriers,
Yes.
most of my military career, I've been overseas, whether with the band or not. When I was in supply, I still sang. So Korean, German, Japanese, French, all these different languages. They don't have to know what you're saying. They don't need to know the words.
They can feel
It's
it, though.
music, and it's something that they can feel and move to. So yeah.
So I'm going to go back a little bit because I didn't ask you all the places that you've traveled and been stationed during your time in service.
Yeah. Well, I started in Korea,
Mm-hmm.
Osan in Korea, when I was in supply.
Okay.
When I left there, I went to Ramstein in Germany, and I was there for the majority of my career in supply. Then I got out and I came back in, of course, Wright Pat. From Wright Pat, I went to Alaska, which there is no longer a band there, but there was. And then from Alaska, I went to Japan, and then from Japan, I went to Belgium, and then from Belgium, now here at Offutt Air Force Base in Nebraska.
Oh, that's such an exciting career.
Yeah. I can't complain. I can't
much.
complain. Yes, I can't complain about that at all.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah. What are some of your plans now that you're looking at retirement? Do you know how you're going to transition? What do you want to do?
Well, I had planned on, it was a special duty at one time, the defense attaché. Okay. And so I wanted to go either to Italy or Spain and work at the embassies, the U.S. embassies in either of those countries. That was the plan about 6 months ago. But now, it's just up in the air. But like I would like to remain some kind of DOD, still have some ties. And but the defense attaché, I think, is something that I've wanted to do. So
I really hope you get that. That sounds like more awesome to pile on top of your awesome career.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Just 2 more questions. Mm-hmm. Let's see. First one, because I'm going to end on a light note. So the first question would be, what is your number one takeaway from your time in service in the Air Force overall as a bandman and in supply? What do you think has touched you the most, or what have you gotten out of your time?
Well, just the simple fact that I am a African-American female, for one. Years ago, females could not serve. Years ago, African-Americans had their own, branch. And so I think that we've come a long way. Of course, we can still grow, but just for people to look at me now, if I'm in uniform, they're like, oh my gosh, a female in uniform. Oh my gosh, she must be the boss because she has all these stripes. And it's so funny how people, react. Well, the experiences that I've experienced, how they react to me when they see me in uniform. So I'm like, I appreciate it. When people say, thank you for your service, I say, thank you, for thank you for, acknowledging that it's not just something we're doing. This is our lives, and people get in for different reasons. People get in, serve their country, people get in to travel, people get into, whatever their reasonings are, everyone is still risking their lives at some point because, of course, we have to deploy. So, just for people to be appreciative and know that we are fighting for, their freedoms. I think that's awesome.
Yes, I agree. That brought me back to what you were speaking on about representation and how much it matters. When I was in ROTC, I went to Tennessee State University, and I was in the ROTC program there. And the head of the program. She was a major. She was a Black woman. And I just was always so in awe how she would come into the room and call the room, and they would call the room for her. And she was just so graceful, like, no, keep your seats, please. And just the pride that she exuded in her uniform, I was like, oh, that's a possibility for me. That can be me one day. And it was just that really touched me when you said that representation really does matter. And that's, you know, for the little boy from a small town, you know, see the African American woman, the Asian woman, you know, things like that. Just whoever you are, even the LGBTQ community, things like that. Representation really matters. And I'm in a women's group right now on Facebook for the military, and I kind of speak to that, connecting generations and how much that representation matters, you know, for people who are looking to come behind you. And that's the main thing that drives these fireside chats, is because it is helpful to have these conversations in a space where you feel safe. A lot of times when people are coming in, they may be, you know, afraid or timid, and they don't get to have these kind of relaxed conversations with people that really have a lot of knowledge to give them. So I appreciate you doing this, and I appreciate that, you know, now this is out there for someone else to see who's coming behind, and maybe they may watch these videos and be inspired. And I really thank you for that. Thank you for taking the time to sit with me.
No problem at all. And thank you all for doing this, you know, interviewing different people and getting their, I'm sure like I said, everyone has a different story. You know, everybody doesn't walk the same path in the military. So just to hear everyone's different experiences, you know, and what they've done and what were good experiences and what were bad, you know. So it's like I say thank you to, is it the publicity shop there at Right Pat? Or
the publicity shop,
yeah, so you guys are doing an awesome job. So
thank you.
I'm sure everybody that you have interviewed appreciates you guys taking out the time and just, you know, reflecting on some of the older people. So yeah, we appreciate it too.
Thank you. All right, so the last question. I ask everyone, if you can think of your funniest Air Force memory, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. Oh, the funniest?
Or just a really funny one?
Probably just, you know, when I don't know, maybe when we're rehearsing or something, getting ready for a show or preparing for a show. If somebody does, that's the only thing I can think of, like, as of now. I don't think, I don't know. Let's see. Or maybe just stuff that we've encountered on tour, or, you know, those seem to, you know, on buses for, you know, 12, 13 hours. Stuff usually happens on the bus. So probably, you know, tour stuff, you know, us being together for, you know, a certain amount of time, and someone does something to make, you know, everybody laugh. Probably that would be my funny.
So just overall times of good morale.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all I have. I'm so thankful for you taking the time out. I know you're very busy to chat with us, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Talking to you soon.
Thank you.
On being retirement.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.